Hello and welcome to today's inaugural episode of Spitting Tea and Spilling Facts. I am today's host, Daniela.
And I am today's special guest, Emma, the white man, Taylor.
So, Emma, what have you been taught about the Aztecs?
Not a lot. I don't know a thing about the Aztecs because I was never really taught that in the elementary school we were learning about. When we were learning about, Native Americans.
Right.
Because Aztecs are also Native Americans, right?
That they are, technically.
I know that.
Technically, yes.
Good. All right. Can you tell me more, though?
Yeah, so, do you want me to tell you a fact that you might have not known at all?
Yes, I do, yes. Please.
So, they're not actually called the Aztec.
Dang! Are you serious? I can't.
Right, let's just keep it. Yeah, no, okay. So, they're actually called the Mexica. They're
The
called
Mexica?
Yeah, and then the name of the country, Mexico, was actually derived from that name. Very much longer after that.
Okay.
But that's basically why Mexico is called Mexico, because it was derived from the name Mexica.
And which is what the Aztecs are called.
Yes, it's what the Aztec are called.
Okay, cool. Can you tell me something else about, something I might not have known about the Aztecs?
I can guarantee you all that I have in my paper, you have no idea about any of it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, can you tell me?
Of course. So, another thing is that the name Aztec doesn't solely refer to the group that was living in that little, the big lake where they built their houses on top of the water. It's called Tenochtitlan, and actually, the name Aztec refers to several other groups that neighbored that area, including, the Aztec themselves, and then a group of people called the Tenochcas, which were the ones that lived in Tenochtitlan, and then the Culhuas. And so those are basically all groups that just lived in the central part of Mexico, which is now Mexico City and those close areas with it.
Okay.
And a lot of people do have that misconception that the Aztecs refer to this one group of people, but for some reason historians and just people who aren't properly educated as they should be just refer to most of those groups as the same, because the Mayans in reality, which is the other group that comes to mind when people think of Native Americans
so
in
I
Mexico.
have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the Mayans located? How the Aztecs, they're located in central Mexico, wherever Mexico City is. Where were the Mayans?
So they were actually more north of
More
that.
north.
And then
so
there's
maybe
another group.
around here?
No, that's way too north.
Way too north.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean what is current day Chihuahua State, which is kind of closer to the border, but not yet too close to it.
Okay.
And actually that's another fact. The Aztecs actually traveled far up to literally right here.
Really?
In
For
these
what?
states. No one knows.
No one knows?
There was just a lot of traveling Aztec that did make it as far into Midwestern, what is current day Midwestern United States. There's actually groups that migrated to this point.
Wow.
That's why there's a bunch of Native Americans here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So among the Navajo and everyone else, Aztec were also in there.
So the Aztecs were the OG Native Americans.
Well, I don't know how far back the Navajo go in the U.S. history, but they were the OG Native Americans of Mexico. I'll tell you that for sure.
Okay.
And for me personally, since I do know a lot about them and do have kind of ish personal connection to them, I hate that people just talk about their history after they were conquered by the Spanish. Hello, we had a whole civilization before they came here. Give us credit.
Okay.
And so, a lot of other things.
You tell me a little bit about that civilization.
Of course, I'll tell you about that civilization.
Okay.
So, even though I got docked points on my paper because I didn't cite it, I actually know it myself because that is part of my history. So the Aztecs used to have this ritual where they would sacrifice humans while they were alive and everything. They didn't even bother knocking them out. And basically what happened is most of the time it would be random people that they hunted down, sometimes people within their own civilization. because the Aztec obviously had their own set of gods they believed in, and the sun god Huitzilopochtli is basically the one that they sacrificed people to. And they would have this ball game where they had like this big rubber ball, and it basically kind of like modern day basketball.
Oh, is it the one with the like where the hoops are kind of like on the side?
Yeah, it's that one.
I've seen that.
Yeah, it's really entertaining to think that they like had those sports back then. But the difference is obviously with basketball, you don't kick it or you don't use any other body part to move it besides your hands.
Okay.
But back then, you couldn't use your hands, like at all. It was against the rules, and you mainly use like your hips, your ankles,
like
and your
soccer.
torso. Yeah, except you didn't kick it. You weren't allowed to move with your hands or kick it.
Is that why soccer is like the sport of Mexico?
I would say so, yeah. It kind of stems from that.
Oh my gosh.
I think so, yeah. But this one, like I said, it's more related to basketball since it had the hoops on the sides of the arenas. And so my point to that is there's actually a fun fact with that. The winning team, whoever won like matches and stuff like that, their captain, the captain of the winning team, would be sacrificed to the gods.
The captain of the winning team?
The captain of the winning team, yep. Because in their...
Because I guess that they think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
To like go to heaven or whatever. Or wherever.
Yeah,
it
basically.
is. Yeah.
For them, is since they were like the winners, they considered it like a big honor to be sacrificed to the gods.
Wow.
And so I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of the Aztec Empire, but you know how they have like those two temples that kind of stem with a bunch of steps from the ground? If you can recall.
Like
what
they're
that looks
kind of like pyramids?
Kind of like pyramids, yeah, but like with a flat top.
Yeah, yep.
All right,
Mhm.
so basically at the very top of those, or where the stairs ended, they would have this table, and it's where the people would be sacrificed. They would like drag them up the stairs, they'd place them down, and they'd be held down by other people. Well, I think it would be the leader.
But that doesn't sound like they're doing it voluntarily then, if they have to be held down.
Right, well, they would
That just
squirm a
sounds
lot while
mean.
they're cutting into them.
That just sounds mean. Like, maybe that's why you're so mean.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Right, thank
My
you.
Never mind. Just kidding. Alright.
Okay, so no, basically I'm assuming they would hold them down since, you know, if you're cut open while you're still breathing, you would wriggle around a
I
lot.
guess, yeah, you would hate that.
Yeah, and so they would cut it from their chest using an obsidian knife, because obsidian is like a staple stone used in the Aztec culture. Very, very sharp. They would actually use that for their spearheads and hunting materials, which is not in my paper, but like I said, since I know about it, I'd like to include that.
Yeah.
And that's where they would be cut open, their heart would be ripped out, and what most people would see as they were dying is their own heart beating in someone else's hand. I think that's fascinating about them.
Okay, I think that's so terrifying.
I know, but, you know, we all start somewhere. Anyways, so, like I said, refer to Mexica. Alright. And then another thing, actually, which is a fun fact. So, have you ever seen a picture of the Mexican flag? The flag of Mexico?
Yes.
What is the symbol that's in the middle, if you could remember it?
Is it an eagle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But do you remember, like, what that eagle's doing?
He has a fish.
It's a snake.
It's a snake.
It's a snake.
He has a snake.
Right, so in, when the Aztec, it is said, this is not confirmed, but it is said by a lot of historians that when the Aztecs were finding a place to settle down, that their sun god, mentioned previously, Huitzilopochtli, told them that they would know when they had found their home when they saw an eagle with a snake in its mouth perched atop a cactus.
So you know when you found your home when that? Like, so the god told the people, like the Aztecs?
Mm-hmm.
That, okay, that's so cool.
Yeah, so if it's like, obviously, since that imagery is familiar, that exact thing that would found them find their home is actually the thing that's on the Mexican flag. The eagle with the snake in its mouth, and it's perched on top of the cactus.
Wow, that's some pretty, like, significant symbolism.
Yeah, so a lot of people from other countries don't realize that the Aztecs still do have, like, a lot of impact on Mexicans' life every day. There's actually a lot of people in, like, central Mexico who still speak the Aztec language known as Nahuatl, which honestly it's a very complicated and very
The
linguistical.
thing that you just said sounded really hard to say.
Even me, who Spanish is my first language, sometimes when I read those words, it's very difficult to pronounce. And they're actually, you know how there's a bunch of dead languages like Latin and stuff like that?
Yes.
This language is actually still spoken by more than 1.5 million indigenous tribes still in Mexico.
Wow.
It's still spoken to this day after like hundreds of years.
That's super cool. So I guess that's something, you know, that the Aztecs were good at, is like, you know, staying true to their heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, until the Spanish came and messed that all up, but
Yeah.
you know, we're not gonna talk about
Boo.
that. Boo, says the white man.
Yes.
And that's basically most of the thing. Oh, and also this information that I found about the cactus and all that, the eagle, that, and about their traditions. I actually found it from a website, or more like an article made by the Mexican embassy themselves, like from the Mexican government.
Oh my gosh.
And it's pretty cool. And there is
They
a
know
bunch of
what's
other
up.
things there that weren't mentioned, like the fact that the Aztecs counted using 20s instead of like 10s and 1s.
Interesting.
And it's still kind of used in Mexico till this day. But basically that's how they counted a lot of things.
With their fingers and their toes.
I'd love to cut that out, but you know I can't. Yeah, basically that's all I have for you.
Oh.
Do you have any questions? You wanna hear anything about anything else?
Well, you know, I don't really have any more questions. I did ask you lots of questions during the whole thing. I kind of interrupted. Well, let's see. Do I have any questions? Have you ever done an ancestry test?
No, but I want to.
You should,
I really do want to.
because you could be Aztec. Right?
I mean, yeah, but I feel like you'd have to take a very specific test to get that one, because they don't really count Aztec as a race. That would just be more like Central Mexican,
oh,
that kind of
okay.
stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, from what my mom told me, on her part of the family, it's like a bunch of Spaniards, and I'm like,
Ew.
dear God, yeah.
Ew.
But no, basically, I do. Considering from where my dad's side of the family is, it is closer to like Central Mexico, so there is very much a possibility that I might be like a descendant of the Aztec, or it could be like I said, the Mayans or any other tribe that was near there.
That's so cool, because Daniela is feisty.
Right, and that would solve the mystery of why I'm like this.
Yeah, yeah, it really would. Alright, so, is that all for
That's all for today's history lessons.
podcast episode?
Yes, ma'am.
It was so nice for you to have me. Thank you.
Of course. Did you learn a lot more
I
than you expected
learned a
to?
lot. You are very knowledgeable. Thank you.
Of course. Right. We'll see you guys in the next episode.